Hello, we need to talk. I haven't been recording for quite a while, not done a proper long video, and there was a reason for that. I had to go through one of the most painful dark nights of the soul in my life ever. To be able to get to the level of understanding and that I've got now. It all happens for a reason, always. Especially when we do the spiritual work and when we suddenly feel like we have gone backwards, which felt for me like this most of the month before Christmas, when the energies were pouring, lots of light coming in, lots of people struggling with ascension symptoms, including myself. And as long as I kind of was okay with just going through the process, I was still extremely struggling physically, mentally. What I mean by the most painful dark night of the soul was everything that I haven't addressed in the past as during part of my healing, when I healed from my chronic condition. And obviously things that I did work on, doing meditations and being aware of certain limiting beliefs, emotional attachments, addictions. But what happens is very often we are not fully aware of how much there really is to clear. So we will be presented with situations like I experienced the last month of last year, where I was brought to my knees, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All of the things that I needed to process, heal, and release, acknowledge first, were brought up to the surface with such force that there was no way for me to ignore it. There was no way for me to do any sort of spiritual bypassing and trying to go to elevated emotions and say, oh, I'm okay, it's just some sort of addiction to certain pattern, which it is. They were saying before Christmas that the energies were so powerful, they were doing collective purge of the, especially for the lower chakras, anything to do with survival, anything to do with fear, anything to do with just low states of consciousness. And I definitely can confirm that. I was recording some of the short videos, you may have come across them, where I was sharing, it was all about any sort of insecurities, any sort of fear-based beliefs, emotions, programs. But it was so intensified for me. I was basically bombarded with an indescribable amount of fear, insecurity, all of the things that I knew I had to go through because I was receiving signs and confirmation in my 3D reality that this is something that I still have to work on, and I was working on. But it came with such power during this emotional release, purge, however you want to call it. I was struggling physically to the point where I honestly thought I was not going to make it. I thought it was going to be too overwhelming because I wasn't able to eat almost at all. I wasn't able to sleep. And I felt so anxious every single day that it was almost unbearable to cope with mentally. And I always considered myself a very strong person, emotionally, mentally. But this was something that I never experienced in the past. Even though I had this experience of being sick for 10 years. And obviously, this was a massive struggle that I had to face in my life. And then I had my spontaneous healing. But what I experienced just before Christmas last year was what they properly describe dark night of the soul, where everything that I have not faced and addressed yet properly came up for me to be seen, to be addressed, to be felt, and to be released. And people on my group, because I was sharing with them what was going on with me, they were sending me lots of support, which I'm extremely grateful for. Then I organized a Zoom call, and I was sharing this experience with them, and they were like, how did you actually release this? And what I want to say is, the way this works, or the way I've seen people describing this process, and obviously based on my own experience, you are taken to the extreme point of tolerance or endurance, mentally, emotionally. You almost are like taken to hell, which you have created for yourself with your own thoughts, with your own fears, with your own programs. And what happens is, those energies that have been pouring, the light that has been pouring for the past few months, what it does, it actually pushes out all the density, all the low vibrational things that have to go. So that was the reason why it was all so intense for me. And yeah, going back to how to release. So when you go through this sort of process for several days, a few weeks, and every day you hope that the next day is going to be better, you apply all sorts of different practices, everything that you know as a spiritual person, somebody who is aware of what's going on. You try to really, really support your body with everything that you know, and you try to really calm down your nervous system and surrender to the process. But despite that, it becomes so unbearable that you are so drained physically, emotionally, that you reach a point where you say to yourself, that's enough. I have to let it go. I have to truly let go of everything that is now being presented to me that needs to be cleared. All those horrible, fearful thoughts, all those terrifying worst case scenarios that are shown to your face, kind of like logged in your mind, minute after minute, every single day and night, where you feel so tormented, like you can't carry on anymore. You finally surrender, because that's the only thing you can do. You say, that's it, I'm done. And basically how you do it is, or how I did it, it's like seeing, feeling, visualizing, I don't know, just having all this darkness in front of your face, constantly in your head. And you try to fight it, you try to push it away, you try to like be positive and just like, okay, yeah, it's there, but I'm just gonna shift my focus to something else. It's not gonna happen, it's gonna be fine. And the more we do that, the more it persists. So the only way to actually heal it is by facing it head on. Seeing all those worst case scenarios, everything that your mind is telling you, everything you are afraid of, everything that, the things that you are scared of the most about anything to do with your life, about your healing, about anything. We all have fears. See it in your mind's eye. Bring it so clearly, so vividly. Almost the way we do the meditation tuning into new potentials, where we want to see the desired reality and we go very deeply and we go and we visualize every single bit to connect with this state. And so you do exactly the same thing, but for the worst case scenarios. And people ask me, like, everybody's afraid to do that because, it's going to manifest if I do this, if I look into this, if I connect to those emotions and combine it with the pictures in my mind, it's going to manifest. But you have to remember, in scripture they say God cannot be mocked. The divine within you knows what you are doing. When you are doing this process, facing those fears, looking them in the eye, allowing yourself to feel those emotions in order to heal and release and get beyond them. And that's actually the best way of doing it. Because anything that you do, like pushing it away and trying not to think about it, is going to keep haunting you. So like I said, God knows what you are doing. So having any sort of fear that it's going to manifest, it's actually creating this belief, and the belief itself may actually cause the problem. So let go of the belief that when you are facing your fear in order to heal, when you are going through a very painful dark night of the soul, that you are going to manifest it. What you actually do when you allow yourself to feel it and see it, and just like say, okay, so you see it, you feel it, and you're just saying, okay, this is one of the quantum possibilities. For some reason it's stuck in my mind because of whatever, something I've been exposed to. We are told every day how dangerous the world is. We are worried about things. We are worried we're going to get sick. We are worried we're not going to heal. We are worried about our families. We are worried about, because it's all part of the programming. This is how we have been conditioned, that life is unpredictable. Life is scary. Life is the world is not safe. If you look at it this way, we all respond to life the way we have been conditioned to, based on everything we have seen and learned. So obviously we have those beliefs, but it only takes a shift in mindset. If I drop this belief that the world is unsafe, if I drop this belief that life is unpredictable, if I drop this belief that every day is like, can bring some horrible things, if I drop this belief, I'm not going to experience this, because we can only see in our reality what we believe. So if we start believing that life is beautiful, life is wonderful, the world is a safe place to be, this is what we are going to start experiencing in our reality. And not only that, as Dr. Joe says, stop living in fear and survival. Start living in joy and gratitude. And you just regulate your nervous system. And you start healing. You start functioning properly, because you don't have this constant survival mode on, which is killing you every single day. Because you have this belief that something can happen anytime, any moment, to you or the people you love. If you just switch from, gosh, I'm worried about this, that it's going to happen, but it actually has the biggest chance of happening simply because I believe it. And the minute I shift to this consciousness that it's up to me to change this belief. I don't have to be the slave to those beliefs. I don't have to be the victim. I don't have to be scared all the time, because I can simply unplug myself from this matrix and start believing something else. And yeah, people say, like, how can you believe something else if, this is the evidence? This is the evidence. Everything you see in the news, everything you hear around, everything you've experienced in your past is just a reflection of your beliefs and of the collective beliefs about how life is and how the world is. But the people who change the way they think and they simply unplug themselves from this illusion of the matrix, they start living beautiful lives. When you raise your frequency, when you expand your consciousness, and you start really vibrating beautiful, positive things like I am safe, I am healthy, all is well, I am abundant. And I'm not saying this as just affirmations. When you truly start embodying it, you are sending this signal to the quantum field, to the universe, and it's going to respond and reflect just that. So you have the chance to create your own heaven on earth, even though other people are experiencing a completely different reality, because they are experiencing what they are vibrating, what they believe. But you can create this haven, this oasis for yourself, where your reality is going to be operating on a different vibration. I want to go back a little bit to the process itself of releasing. So when you allow yourself to face all your fears, why is it so important? Because everybody is scared, like, I don't want to look there, I don't want to look. It's almost like this shadow following you all the time, every day, and you've got days when you're coping with this a little bit better, and then you've got days when you get anxiety and you're worried. You are allowing this energy to haunt you, to always constantly be there at the back of your mind, and you're just like trying not to look this way, or you're trying to shift your focus and say a positive affirmation, or it's like lying to yourself. It's still there, and it's still waiting for you to get to your lower point. I don't know, a bad day or some sort of circumstance that's going to bring you down, just to reaffirm that it's still there. So what happens when we actually face the fear or any sort of emotions that are haunting us? The fear is only powerful when you are scared of it, when you allow it to haunt you, when you feel this tension and this unpleasant feeling within yourself every time you have this negative thought. This is how you are giving power to this emotion, to the emotion of fear. It's like you're trying to look this way. Yeah, no, I'm fine. This is here all the time, whispering and talking to you, giving you all these negative feelings and emotions, and you are just trying to be, no, it's going to be fine. No, it's going to be fine. It's okay. But it's constantly there. And the minute you actually turn your head and look it straight into the eye, that's how you completely remove the power from fear. Because if you say to fear, okay, you're trying to tell me that this or this can happen, and I'm scared of it, So it's only acting as this dominating force over you when you are scared of it. But when you do this and just say, do you know what? Even if this happened, all of those horrible things that you are trying to show me, with all the thoughts and whatever that I have created and I have kind of programmed myself to think in a specific way, there's just certain feelings, certain emotions, certain thoughts that they are running on autopilot. We've been running them for years and they just keep coming back. When you actually allow yourself to look and say, okay, I'm going to look it straight into the eye and say, okay, if this happened, I'm going to be okay. Why? Because by doing so, you are completely removing the power of this emotion over you. If you suddenly say and accept that this thing that you are most scared of could become your reality, especially because you have been thinking this way for such a long time and you have possibly somehow manifested some of it, and you probably may have seen a reflection of it in your life. I'm not saying maybe the worst case scenarios, but if you continue thinking this way, there is a very, very big potential. Eventually you might see it in your reality because it's something that you resist, so it's going to persist. And then it's obviously combined with a strong, powerful emotion of fear. A perfect recipe for a manifestation. So if you suddenly say to yourself, I'm going to be okay, no matter what it is, even if it's losing somebody you love, even if it's losing your own life, you just have to accept it. And I don't mean choosing it. You accept that this is one of the possible scenarios, one of the possible lifetimes that you may experience, timelines, realities. Well, most of you are students by Dr. Joe Dispenza, of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and you know that he teaches that the universe is full of all those potentials. And we can tune into one of those, or many of those, the ones that we prefer. But also the ones that we have been creating with our fears, they also exist. And it's our choice to decide whether we want to keep creating those potentials in the field and finally perhaps see them realized in our life, or whether we want to just accept them as one possibility and not panic and obsess and try to push them away with every single, I don't know, like really deny and really try not to even think about them because it's so horrifying. If you just allow yourself to accept it, you will feel immense relief. You will feel like some sort of massive weight has been taken off your chest. You will feel lighter. You will feel like, oh my gosh, I just accepted it. I just allowed it as one of the possible outcomes. I didn't choose it. So the way I did it was, I said, okay, I visualized all of those things. I allowed myself to feel them. And trust me, it wasn't easy. There were tears involved. Well, I cried those tears. And then I said to myself, this is a possibility, and I'm going to accept it. And I'm not going to allow it to haunt me anymore, because when I accept it and I say, okay, if this happened, I would have to survive somehow. And by doing this, you are removing so much energy from this possibility. You starve it, because you kind of like deflated it from from the energy that's been feeding it. It's almost like this inflated, I don't know, toy haunting you all the time, and suddenly you just released all the air, because you're not scared of it anymore. You've accepted that, okay, if this happened, I would have to just be okay with it. And at the same time, you are choosing what you prefer. So you are not like a victim. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm gonna accept this and I'm just gonna be this. No, no, no. You're just allowing yourself to accept that this is one of the possibilities. But at the same time, you are choosing the one that you prefer. And by just doing this act of acceptance in a really deep, profound way, like really from your heart, not pretending, not trying, just really deep, go really deep. Allow yourself to feel all this distress, all this pain, all this sadness, grief, whatever this could be. Feel those emotions, cry them out, and then you will feel so much relief, so much relief. And then when you do this, even in a few minutes afterwards or the next day, you will have those thoughts again. They will come back, but they will be nowhere near as strong and as painful and as horrifying as before. That's what I call deep inner work, shadow work. And sometimes, unfortunately, we are forced to do this deep shadow work. Sometimes it's almost like imposed upon us, suddenly, unexpectedly. Especially now with this accelerated ascension process that we all go through, especially those who are doing spiritual work. We are not supposed to take years to heal it and release it. We are supposed to really just let it go as soon as possible, because we are conscious enough to understand that our level of consciousness and our healing is needed for the collective ascension of the planet. And that's why those energies are so intense, forcing us to do this shadow work, forcing us to do the inner healing. It's no longer, oh, okay, I'm going to give you another 10 years, take it easy. No. The energies are so intense that they will make you sick, physically, emotionally, almost make you go crazy, so that you quickly realize, okay, that's it, I'm done. That's what happened in my case. And even though it was such a painful experience, I struggled with doing anything around Christmas. I even had to let go of the expectation that I have to be there for my family, because this was the predominant thing that I had to go through, the healing. And it took me weeks. It took me weeks to recover. Even when I did the surrender and I did the healing and cleansing, and it took me weeks to get back to normal, and I'm still not 100%, because now I'm supporting my body with when you are not able to eat for weeks, you just get into some sort of the body gets weak. So I am supporting myself with supplements gently, nourishing my body with good food now that I'm able to eat a little bit more. But my sleep is still not great, and I still feel that I have been processing a lot. And I wasn't able to go back to work full time, and I mean like doing sessions full time, because I had to really, really focus on nurturing my body and my mind, because it's been up and down for the past nearly 2 months. Up and down. I would have one better day and then 5 days where I would really struggle. Not able to sleep, not even able to meditate much, because meditation, especially long deep meditation, would then connect me to the higher frequency again, and this could be overwhelming to my body, and it was. I wasn't even able to meditate. So it was so strong that it massively affected my nervous system, but in a way that I had to shed a lot, let go of subdensity. The things that I'm talking about, for me, it was mostly to do with fear, insecurity. And a lot of people experience similar things. I spoke to so many people who, my friends, and people who do the work more or less intensely. A lot of people have been feeling either, ascension symptoms such as, either fatigue or problems with sleep, problem with concentration, lack of motivation, or they had some sort of physical purge, like a really nasty flu, which, well, let's call it flu. Very often it's just a physical detox that has to happen when those frequencies come in. So the main message really from this video is dark night of the soul, as painful as it can be. And we may go through several of those until we unplug ourselves from the matrix properly, until we heal and release everything that really is not in alignment with the new frequency that we are supposed to be stepping into. I am now extremely grateful for this experience, because I can see massive shift in awareness, and that was the purpose of it. I could not have raised my frequency and expand my consciousness without shedding and dropping some of the baggage. This was necessary. And not only that, I can see the reflection of this cleanse, purge, really positive reflection in my 3D reality. How things have shifted the minute I did. It was painful, because the old personality holds on to, it's like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, it prefers to be in the known, even though the known is a misery. It's the addiction to those really negative emotions. But the body gets so addicted to it. It doesn't want to let go. So it will keep bringing more and more reasons to reaffirm, and just to be fed with those chemicals. And the withdrawal symptoms are very, very intense, can be very intense. In my case, they were very intense. I would release one day, have a better day the next day, and then some stuff would come up, even with more force, the day after. Almost like the body was craving. Come on, just one negative thought, just one fearful thought. Come on, give it to me. And it's almost like the brain is projecting all those terrifying things. If you manage to release one scenario, it's going to come up with another. It's going to try and trick you. So you have to face them all. And remember that this is your body trying to keep you stuck in the old program. But also from the spiritual perspective, it's just your soul asking you to ascend, asking you to unplug from this illusion, from this programming, and watching you lovingly, knowing how painful it is. Your soul can feel everything that you can feel. Your higher self knows how difficult it is, because I spoke and I begged my soul for mercy. I begged everyone for mercy. Angels. They were really supportive. At some point when I got really almost completely dehydrated, because I had a lot of digestive symptoms, couldn't eat, and at some point I got badly dehydrated, to the point that I could barely get out of bed. And the angels basically sent me a message on my phone in Polish. It was just a funny message with a duck saying, "Have you been drinking enough today?" And at this point, because I was like feeling really, really dizzy and weak. And when I saw this message, I was like, yeah, I just knew it was a message from the spirit world. And I started drinking more, even though I thought I did drink a lot, but yeah. And I drank much more, because that day I kind of forgot to drink as much, and they were assisting me all the time, and almost like I could feel. I remember hugging myself, giving myself so much love in this process, saying it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna go through this too shall pass. I was really, really loving towards myself. And the good thing about it is that even though it was shockingly hard, and despite everything that I have read about Dark Night of the Soul and ascension symptoms, it was probably nothing that I could ever expect or be prepared for. But I simply, the wisdom, the information, the fact that I was aware what was going on with me, and the constant guidance that I kept receiving through some spiritual forums, but also just my own insights, downloads, the knowing, the inner knowing what was going on with me, helped me so much. That's why I'm sharing my message with you, because when you are doing this work, going deep in meditations, doing really regular meditation practice every single day, a lot of you at some point will be called to go through some sort of dark night of the soul in order to heal, most probably, or as one of the layers of healing and ascending. So I am sharing this not to scare anyone. I am sharing this just to spread awareness and how to really embrace something like this. And it doesn't have to be as intense for you. It could just be, I don't know, maybe a short period of feeling more emotional, needing to cry. It doesn't have to be as intense as it was in my case. Everybody will go through this in a different way. But as you probably remember, Dr. Joe Dispenza also mentions several times in his videos that he has gone through several dark nights of the soul. He doesn't go into details, but he's fully aware that spiritual path usually cannot happen without going through this experience. There is too much density and too much darkness that we have to let go of. That's why just be open to it. Allow yourself to shed more and more. Allow yourself to ascend more and more. because in my next video I will be talking about conscious creation, about conscious creation in terms of healing, manifestation, and everything that I have learned as a result of my intense experience over the past 2 months, and how it has enriched my life, how it has shifted my perception of life, and how it liberated me in so many ways. So, see you in the next video. All the best.